A long time ago, in the quiet village of Itoko, there lived a young woman named Asha. Her parents had died when she was very young. Since then, she had lived alone. No one had raised her. She had learned how to grow food, fetch water, and do everything by herself. Life was not easy, but Asha was strong. People in the village knew her as a hard-working girl. She was always busy, on her small farm, picking cassava or yams, or weaving palm baskets to sell in the market. Her hands were always moving. Her skin was the color of the deep earth, and her eyes were dark like the night sky, full of quiet sadness. People noticed her beauty. But there was something else too. A silence, a weight she carried, like a secret only she knew. Even though many admired her, Asha didn't keep friends. She liked to be alone in her small mud house at the edge of the village. When others danced and sang at village festivals, she stayed home. She liked her peace. People whispered about her. Some said she was strange. Others believed the pain of losing her parents had left her cold. A few even said she was hiding something, but no one truly knew. As Asha grew older, her beauty became even greater. Soon many young men from Itoko and nearby villages came to seek her hand. They brought gifts, goats, mangoes, cloth, but nothing seemed to work. The first man was called Bako. He was a young farmer with strong arms and a sweet smile. He had heard of Asha's beauty and strength. He believed she would make a fine wife. Bako spoke kindly and with patience. After some time, Asha agreed to be his friend. For weeks they sat under mango trees, talked by the river, and worked side by side. It looked like love might grow. But then one day, they had a small argument. Nothing big. Bako raised his voice, in anger. What happened next shocked him. Without a word, Asha attacked him. She hit him hard again and again. Her slim arms moved like fire. Bako was too surprised to fight back. When he broke free, he ran and didn't stop until he was far away. He told everyone he would never go near her again. The news spread fast. Asha beat Bako, the villagers whispered. The other young men began to think twice. Still, some believed they would be different. Some said Bako must have made up the story. After all, Asha didn't look dangerous. She was soft-spoken and calm. Could she really hurt a man? One such man was Dio, a cloth trader from a nearby town. He was smooth with words and wore fine clothes. To his joy, Asha agreed to be his friend. They started seeing each other. Dio told his friends he had found love. But just like with Bako, it didn't last. One afternoon, after a small disagreement, Asha lost control. She beat Dio until his eyes were swollen and his lips cut. He couldn't believe it. When he could finally leave, he told others, "She is not safe. I don't know what's wrong with her, but no man should go near her." And so it continued. One man after another came, thinking he could handle her, and one by one, they left hurt and confused. Soon the whole village knew. The men stayed away. Even the women looked at her with fear. They whispered cruel names. The man-beater, they called her. Asha heard the whispers. They made her heart heavy. She didn't understand why this happened. She didn't want to hurt anyone. But when a man shouted or raised his hand too fast, something inside her snapped. Her mind would go blank, and her hands would rise. She couldn't stop herself. She felt ashamed. Asha had always dreamed of having a family, of laughter, children, and someone to hold at night. But now she thought maybe she was cursed. Maybe she would live her life alone, farming her land, selling baskets, and hearing the village children giggle behind her back. But life is strange. One day, as Asha walked home from the market, an old man stepped in front of her path. His name was Pa Alaye, one of the elders. His beard was white like cotton, and his voice calm like a still lake. Asha was surprised. He rarely spoke to anyone, especially not someone like her. "Good afternoon, sir," she said, bowing slightly. "Good afternoon, my daughter," Pa Alaye replied. Are you well? I am, sir, she answered, though she felt nervous. Why? Had he come to her? He paused, looking at her with kind eyes. Then he said, Asha, I bring you a strange proposal, one that may sound foolish, but I ask you to listen first. Asha blinked. What kind of proposal, sir? Pa'alei sighed and said, I have a nephew. His name is Oba. He lives far away. He is a good man, but he has a problem. He cannot stop himself from beating women. Because of this, no woman wants him. He has lived alone for many years. Asha's eyes grew wide. Why are you telling me this? I've heard about you, Asha, Pa'alei said gently. I know your past. I know what the men say, and I know what they don't understand. I do not judge you. I only wonder, perhaps you and Oba are not so different. You both carry pain. Maybe together, you could learn peace. Asha was shocked. The thought of marrying a violent man frightened her. But something about Pa'alei's words stayed in her mind. No, sir, she said, shaking her head. I cannot. I understand, the old man said softly. But remember, sometimes, the thing we fear the most is the very thing that can save us. Then he turned and walked away. Asha stood still, her heart full of questions. Days passed. Asha tried to forget the strange offer, but the thought kept returning. What was Oba like? What had made him so broken? Could he understand her pain? Could two people with fire in their hearts learn to stop burning everything they touched? One evening, as she gathered firewood in the forest, she saw a man standing alone. He was tall, with strong shoulders and a hard look in his eyes. When he saw her, his face softened. Good evening, he said in a low voice. Good evening, Asha replied, holding her cutlass tightly. I did not mean to frighten you, he said. My name is Oba. I'm visiting my uncle Pa'alei. Asha's heart skipped. Was this the man? When she told him her name, he stared at her. Silence fell between them. Then Oba said, You're the woman who lives at the edge of the village, yes? Asha nodded. I've heard things about you, he said. She felt her face grow hot. And you? What do they say about you? Oba smiled sadly. Probably the same things they say about you. They were quiet again. Then, to her surprise, Oba sat on a fallen log and waved for her to join him. I don't want to fight, he said. I'm tired of fighting. Asha waited, then slowly sat, but kept some space between them. So am I, she whispered. I don't want to fight anymore. For a while they sat in silence, then Oba spoke. My uncle told me about you. He thinks we might understand each other. He told me the same, she said softly. What do you think? Oba asked. Asha felt her heart pounding. I don't know. Maybe we'll help each other, or maybe we'll destroy each other. Oba looked away. I've been alone for so long. I gave up on love, but when my uncle told me about you, I felt a small hope. Asha felt something shift in her chest. Sitting beside Oba felt strange, but also safe. Like maybe he understood her, even without words. But she was also scared. What if they hurt each other? After a long pause, she asked, Why do you hurt women? Oba's face became tight. I don't hate women, he said slowly. But one woman hurt me, hurt my father too. Asha stayed quiet. My mother, Oba continued, was cruel. My father loved her, but she was like poison. One night she added something to his food. I was 10. I watched him die slowly. And she just stood there, smiling. Asha felt her throat close. The pain in his voice was deep. She understood that pain. It had shaped him. After that, Oba said, his voice shaking, I swore I'd never let a woman hurt me again. So I struck first. Asha's eyes filled with tears. I understand, she said, her voice cracking. My father killed my mother. I saw it. I was too small to stop him. After that, I swore I'd never let a man hurt me. They looked at each other. We are not so different, Oba said. No, we're not, Asha replied. but we don't have to keep hurting others. For the first time, Oba smiled. Maybe you're right, Asha said softly, her voice barely louder than the evening wind. Maybe it's time we stopped fighting. And from that day on, Asha and Oba began spending more time together. Slowly, the thick walls they had both built around their hearts began to break. They shared stories, deep ones. They talked about their pasts, their pain, the shadows that followed them, and even the dreams they once gave up. Little by little, something strong began to grow between them. Trust. The people of Itoko watched from a distance. Some were curious, others unsure. They had heard the tales. Everyone knew about Asha's wild anger and Oba's dark temper. Some villagers whispered that their love would explode one day like a pot forgotten on fire. But others noticed something new. Asha was smiling more. Her shoulders weren't as tense. There was light in her eyes. Some villagers began to hope. Maybe these two were not so broken after all. One quiet evening, as the sun slipped behind the Gyu hills and painted the sky with orange and pink, Asha and Oba sat outside her home. The air smelled of roasted maize and dust. It was peaceful. I've been thinking, Oba said, breaking the silence. About what? Asha asked gently. About us, Oba replied. His voice was steady. I know we've both been through storms. I know it won't be easy. But I want to be with you, Asha. I want to try. I want us to build something. Together. Asha's heart jumped. She had thought of the same thing many times, but fear had always tied her tongue. The idea of sharing her life, her quiet, wounded life, with someone who understood her so deeply. It scared her, but it also made her feel alive. I want that too, she said finally. But what if we hurt each other? What if we turn into what our parents were? Oba reached out and gently took her hands. His grip was warm, steady. We are not our parents, Asha, he said. We've survived so much, we've walked through fire and still came out standing. I believe we can heal together. Asha looked into his eyes and saw no lies there, only truth and pain and hope. A soft breath escaped her lips. All right, she said, let's try. When news of their decision to marry spread through Itoko, the reactions were mixed. Some villagers clapped their hands and prayed for them. Others shook their heads, saying the marriage would end in disaster. But Asha and Oba didn't care. They had made up their minds. They were ready to fight, not each other, but for each other. With the blessing of Pa'alai, Oba's uncle, a wedding was planned, and what a wedding it was. It happened under a huge tree in the village square because Asha's home was too small for such a big crowd. Everyone was invited. Even those who had spoken against them came out of curiosity. Asha wore a flowing white dress made by the village tailor. Fresh hibiscus flowers were woven into her hair. Oba stood beside her, tall and proud yet humbled by the moment. As they exchanged their vows, the elders offered prayers and their voices rose into the sky like smoke from burning incense. I promise to love you, even when it's hard, Asha said. I promise to protect your heart as if it were my own. Oba replied. When the ceremony ended, drums beat loud and fast. There was spicy jollof rice, roasted plantain, and sweet palm wine. People danced. Children ran between the guests. For the first time in years, Asha laughed freely, her head tilted back, her feet moving to the drumbeat. She and Oba danced like the world was finally theirs. But after the music faded and the guests returned home, real life stepped in. Marriage was not a river that flowed smoothly. There were rocks, big ones. Asha and Oba had fights, sometimes over small things, sometimes over deep wounds that had never fully healed. There were days when the old fears knocked on their doors, again, but each time they reminded each other, we chose this. We promised to fight for our love, not against each other. Still, there were days when doubt crept in. Was this the right choice? Could they really overcome the fire inside them? But then there were also days of great joy. Days when they sat side by side, looked at how far they had come, and felt proud. One day, Oba returned home from a bad day. A project he had worked hard on had failed. He was angry. Everything had gone wrong. He slammed the door and shouted at Asha, his voice sharp like a cutlass. In the past, Asha would have reacted with rage. She would have fought back without thinking. But this time, something was different. Asha breathed deeply. Her fists stayed calm. Her voice didn't rise. "Oba," she said softly. "When you speak to me like that, I feel afraid again. I remember things I don't want to remember." Oba froze. The fire in his chest faded. His eyes widened with shame. "I'm sorry," he said, stepping closer. "I forgot. I was so angry, but I shouldn't have taken it out on you. It wasn't perfect, but it was growth." Each argument, each moment of pain became a lesson. They learned to talk better. They learned how to recognize each other's pain before it turned into anger. They learned to hold hands when one of them trembled. As the years passed, Asha and Oba built a life that looked nothing like what people had expected. Their home was full of laughter, music, sometimes even silly arguments, but always love. One evening, they sat outside their small house as the moon began to rise. "Do you remember when we first met?" Asha asked with a smile. "How could I forget?" Oba chuckled. "I thought you were going to hit me with your cutlass that day." Asha laughed too. "I thought the same about you." They both smiled. "Look at us now," she said. "We've come so far." "Yes," Oba nodded, "and I'm thankful for every step." Asha leaned her head on his shoulder, the stars twinkling above them. "I never thought I could feel this kind of peace," she whispered. "I'm glad you do," Oba said softly. The villagers, who had once doubted them, began to see something different. Those who had bet that the marriage would fail were now surprised. Day by day, Asha and Oba became an example, not of perfection, but of what two broken people could create when they chose to love despite their pain. Their shared past made it easier for them to understand one another. They didn't need to explain their scars. They could see them. When they had children, they promised to raise them in a home full of love, safety, and gentleness. They watched every word they said. Every argument was handled with care. They made sure the ghosts of their childhood never entered their new home. This story reminds us that the past can follow us like a shadow, but only if we let it. Many people miss out on love because they're still holding tight to pain from long ago. Some don't even know they are doing it. But healing is possible. Even the deepest wound can begin to close if we allow it. The key is to stop running and face it, with love, with support, with courage. No matter how dark the past, there is always a way forward, a way to light, a way to hope, a way to peace. If your parents suffered from broken love, it doesn't mean you will. Let their story teach you. Let it guide you to make better choices. Watch for warning signs. Protect your heart, but don't close it. Also, learn to be gentle with others. You don't know what they're carrying. Some people need help, not judgment. Healing becomes possible when there's someone who listens without fear and loves without condition. That is when a person begins to speak. That is when change begins. Remember this: your past does not define you. Your future can be brighter than you ever imagined, if you give it a chance. Thank you for listening to this story. What are your thoughts? Please share this story with someone who might need it. It could be the light they're looking for. And if this touched your heart, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more powerful stories. Until next time, goodbye.